in. It's time to go boating and fishing and leave stress in our wake. Feel the wind as we ride and a fish on the line. Reel in our first catch and feel the sun at our backs. It's get out on the water season. It's time to get on board. Find out where to get on board near you. Visit Take Me Fishing and Discover Boating to learn more. And please recreate responsibly.
Get on board. Get on board.
You're listening to the home of Sooner fans, KREF, Norman, Oklahoma, and streaming live on the KREF app.
The Ref Sports Radio Network.
Live from the Buffalo Wild Wings studios, it's time to get locked into the best Sooner recruiting and football news with Parker Thune and Grayson Singleton.
You better lock it up. No, you lock it up. You lock it up. Lock it up.
Hit the guys up on the Riverwind Casino call-in line at 405-329-9000 or text the show on the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line at 405-651-3439.
Do it! Just do it!
Now, with Locked In, here's Parker Thune and Grayson Singleton.
This Wednesday belongs to the Teal Chickens, Mr. Singleton. Boy, are they rolling right now. Omaha native that I am, of course, I have one eye on what's happening at the Men's College World Series up there at Charles Schwab Field, formerly TD Ameritrade Park. Coastal Carolina leads Louisville 6-0 in the third inning. One win away from returning to the championship series for the second time in the last decade. The first time, of course, was my junior year of high school. What a summer that was in Omaha at the College World Series. Good high school memories right there. This is Locked In on the Ref, the home of Sooner fans. Talking OU football and recruiting here with you for about the next hour. Presented by Dorsey Jones GMC out in El Reno. Make the short trek out there and let them get you set up with one of the most reliable trucks and or SUVs on the market. Take advantage of their half-price oil changes on Saturdays as well. The Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line is 405-651-3439. And as we get rolling, obviously, I think the lead news is that Oklahoma lost a commit today. I know Steely mentioned it in the 12 o'clock hour when the news was fresh, but it is the second decommitment of the 2026 cycle for Oklahoma. 3-star interior offensive line commit Will Conroy has flipped from Oklahoma to North Carolina. Took an OV to UNC over the weekend, was scheduled for his Oklahoma official this coming weekend, but instead he is off the board to the Tar Heels. The only previous decommitment of the 2026 cycle for Oklahoma was, of course, when they lost a long-standing pledge from 4-star running back Jonathan Hatton, who later committed to Texas A&M. So no more Will Conroy in this class. As it stands, Noah Best is the lone offensive line commit in the 26 cycle for the Sooners. And somewhat hilariously, Grayson, the situation now is that Oklahoma has one commit at literally every single position. Quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end, offensive line, defensive end, defensive tackle, linebacker, cornerback, safety. They have one commit at literally every position in the 2026 cycle.
Fun.
So, if nothing else, it's still a balanced tenfold group in the 26 class. But how are we feeling, Grayson? It's a 3-star, so I don't know that this is the most consequential decommitment that could have hit randomly on a Wednesday morning. But Conroy is officially out of the picture now for Oklahoma.
3-star aside, it is kind of unnerving when a guy who has been committed as long as Will Conroy had been just all of a sudden decommits and doesn't even take his Oklahoma OV visit that was scheduled to be for this weekend. So that could be a little unnerving. He was one of the big four we were talking about for the longest time up until the most recent stretch and spurt of commitments that Oklahoma has been able to lock down. So it's not nothing. Obviously, there's a connection to Jake Krell because, they're teammates at IMG Academy, and we'll talk about that here in a second more. But is it the most consequential thing? Is it a guy that was a can't-miss guy? No. but he was, the truth of the matter, it being that he is your longest standing, or not longest standing, but one of the longest standing commits. That kind of has to mean something and send some kind of inquisitive waves as to why now did you decide to back off of this?
Denver from Indiana on the text line says, as a Pats fan, Belichick can go kick rocks. He hadn't done nothing without Tom Brady. This hits my nerve more. Yeah, you're not accustomed to seeing North Carolina flip your commits at the University of Oklahoma, but again, this once again illustrates the point that we've brought up repeatedly over the last several weeks, which is this is the nature of recruiting these days. NIL, in many ways, is the great equalizer, especially when you have a lower-tier P4 school, and who knows what North Carolina will be once Belichick gets it rolling, if he gets it rolling. But right now, they do qualify as a mid- to lower-tier P4 program in the sport of football. Yet, here's the reality. When you're recruiting to a program like North Carolina, you're going to be a bit more inclined to spend big money on certain players of the 3-star and low 4-star persuasion than a place like the University of Oklahoma will when they have to accommodate a lot more elite prospects in their class and make financial room for all of those additions. Now, in talking to a couple of people on the OU side of things over the last couple of hours, that's very much what I've picked up, was that Will Conroy was made an offer he couldn't refuse by North Carolina. And the overwhelming feeling on the OU side has been, yep, you know what? Knowing what the number was on that side, don't blame him. Can't blame him. So, he's a Tar Heel. That's that. Oklahoma moves on. And at this point, Grayson, feel pretty good about the decision 10 days from now from 4-star offensive tackle target Deacon Schmidt. That should be the second offensive line commit of the 26 cycle for Oklahoma if current trends hold. Outside of that, though, feels like Oklahoma, if they don't go 2 for 2 with their other remaining targets on the offensive line, they're going to have to expand the board. I don't know what that looks like just yet, but they're going to have to expand the board. Now, the targets with whom they are still in the picture are 4-star interior offensive lineman Desmond Green, the number 1 overall prospect in the state of South Carolina. He was on campus for his official visit to Oklahoma a couple weekends ago, June 6th through the 8th. It's going to be a fight. Georgia's involved, South Carolina's involved, Florida's involved quite prominently. The other one is Devin Robeson from Pasadena, Texas. 3-star kid. He's got a lot of the usual regional suspects on his offer sheet, Houston, Baylor, TCU. But the testing numbers that he's posted this spring have been tremendous. He was the O-line MVP of the Houston Under Armour camp back in, what was that, April? Or perhaps March. And he's a guy that Oklahoma decided to toss a late offer to. They got involved last month in the recruitment of Devin Robeson. He is due for an OV this weekend at the Champion Barbecue. So, between Robeson and Desmond Green, feels like you got to go 2 for 2, or else you're going to have to go explore the market again.
Pressure's on. Desmond Green, if they're able to pull that off, that is highly impressive. If they're able to pull off a kid from South Carolina and get him to come to Oklahoma over the Floridas and the Georgias of the world. You can't overstate how impressive that would be. Interestingly enough, my next question is, okay, did this catch Oklahoma off guard? Did the fact that Will Conroy decided to flip his commitment to North Carolina kind of catch them by surprise? And now, what kind of mode are they in wake of that information?
So, I'll say this. Oklahoma doesn't feel shocked and bewildered by the news that Will Conroy flipped to UNC. They had an inkling that it was coming, especially by virtue of the fact that he took the North Carolina official visit while still verbally committed to OU. You're no longer taking it for granted at that point that the kid winds up in the class. Kind of the same conversation as Jaden O'Neal in many ways. Yeah, the feeling from the OU side for a while now has been that Jaden O'Neal is trending in the direction of sticking, but when Florida State has kind of made him their number one priority and they get him on campus for an official visit, you're not going to be all too surprised if Jaden O'Neal winds up flipping to FSU. And hey, we'll talk about that in just a little bit in greater detail. But similarly, when you have a kid that's been committed for 6 months, as Will Conroy has, and then all of a sudden he's taken an OV to North Carolina while still verbally pledged, then it's not going to shock you. Even if you don't necessarily think it's happening, it's not going to shock you if the kid decides to just go ahead and lock in with UNC, back off his verbal to Oklahoma. And no one on the Oklahoma side of things that I've spoken with has regarded this as a huge loss for the class. I think in large part because this is a really strong class of interior offensive linemen overall, across the country and especially across the region. There are going to be plenty of options for Oklahoma in the 2026 class. If, let's just say, they go 1 for 2 or 0 for 2 between Devin Robeson and Desmond Green, and you're still hunting come the fall, there are going to be plenty of options and plenty of good ones. I myself have seen with my own 2 eyes throughout camp season plenty of interior offensive linemen from across the Mid-South that are G5 guys right now, but that definitely have P4 potential, P4 ability. It's just a matter of who's going to be the school to toss them the big-time offer. So I don't know that Conroy's decommitment has left Oklahoma feeling like, okay, we don't know where to go from here, or man, this really sucks. How do we recover? But he's a guy you would obviously have rather had in your class than not had in your class, especially because Oklahoma kind of makes it a point as of late to take one true center every single year, and this was your true center. You trace it back. They took Josh Bates in 2023, 23 cycle. They took Josh Isosa in the 24 cycle. Those 2 guys have since moved on already, right? But Owen Hollenbeck, most recently, was that guy for Oklahoma in the 25 cycle. And it would have been Will Conroy in 26, but no longer. So, going to be interested to see how Oklahoma plays their hand if they don't go 2 for 2 with Desmond Green and Devin Robeson. But I will be the first to tell you all, and this is not copium, this is not sunshine pumping, this is just the reality. And we've talked about it for months on this show. The 2026 class of interior offensive linemen, especially across the Mid-South, is as strong as I have seen. Another guy I didn't even mention, and granted, it does feel like a bit of a long shot because he's not OVing with Oklahoma, but still has a ton of familiarity with, admiration for the program, is Drew Evers out of Flower Mound, the 4-star offensive guard projection. So there are options, even if Oklahoma doesn't get the top guys remaining on their board. And if there's one position where I feel like the Sooners aren't behind the 8 ball, if they have to go into the fall exploring the open market and maybe trying to identify some late risers, I feel a lot more comfortable with that position being interior offensive line than, say, quarterback or wide receiver or safety.
And because it's interior offensive line, too, that also is not generally a position of high demand financially, center and guard. So you're not going to be paying exorbitant amounts of dollars to a 3-star interior lineman. So it's well within financial constraints. Is Will Conroy replaceable in a non-offensive way? Just so nobody gets this twisted. Yes, theoretically, Will Conroy is replaceable, both from a financial standpoint and, like you just articulated, because of how strong interior offensive line is in this region, talent-wise too. So This is nothing to freak out. The only thing that you would even think about freaking out with when it comes to the situation is the fact that he was committed for the 6 months, and then all of a sudden OV season comes around and he pulls a whoops, nah. So that's the only kind of concerning thing here. You're not losing some generational type player, though. Again, in a very non-offensive way.
And that's completely fair to say. Like, that's the reality for a ton of kids that wind up in OU's class every year and every Power 4 class every year. They're good players, but you feel like if they weren't in the class, you'd survive, right?
Yes.
And that's kind of the sentiment that I've gathered from the OU side regarding Will Conroy is, well, we would have liked to have him, but it is the farthest thing from the end of the world. So Conroy off the board to North Carolina, out of Oklahoma's class. This drops Oklahoma out of the top 25 nationally in the Rivals recruiting rankings, which, again, given some of the stuff that should shake over the next week and a half, you can expect Oklahoma's going to be right back up there in the top 25 and probably the top 20 before too long. But it's the second decommitment of the 26 cycle for Oklahoma, and they're once again in search of their center projection. Slim Brady on the text line says the percentage that a commit visits another campus and ends up in Oklahoma's recruiting class has to be extremely low. Yeah, it's low. I'm trying to think how many examples we have seen over the years, because there are plenty of examples of kids going to visit other schools and flipping, but there are also examples of kids going to visit other schools and sticking with their commitments to Oklahoma. Colton Vasek flipped. Anthony Evans flipped. Ashton Cozart flipped. Obviously, Will Conroy just flipped. But Cortland Guillory stayed true to OU. Dalen Smothers stayed true to OU before leaving after 1 year. But, yeah, you get the point. There are guys that have done both. There are guys that have visited elsewhere and wound up sticking. There are guys that have visited elsewhere and wound up flipping. The feeling from the Oklahoma side initially was, okay, we're going to get our shot at Conroy. He wants to be here. The UNC visit is what it is. We'll get him. We'll make sure he's locked in at the Champion Barbecue, but then come to find out there was an offer he couldn't refuse from the North Carolina side. And again, I don't get the sense that anybody on the OU side of things is really blaming Conroy for the decision that he made because, again, like we talked about yesterday, hypothetical numbers here, but how many of us aren't taking a different job for an additional $200,000?
Not many of us would pass that up.
405-651-3439 is the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line. 651-3439. Let's hit a quick break, get a word in from our sponsors, and when we return, what of the Jaden O'Neal situation? And also, how did Bowe Bentley perform at day one of Elite 11 competition? That's next here on The Ref, the home of Sooner fans.
Are you in need of purchasing your own health insurance? Are you turning 65 and confused about Medicare? Are you an employer looking at offering benefits to your staff? Call the agents at Allison Insurance. They'll sort through the confusion. They're not captive to just one company, and they'll get the best option for you. Don't get frustrated. Call Allison Insurance at 800-580-5587 or 745-2968. Allison Insurance. They are the experts.
Oklahoma DRS helps job seekers with disabilities become taxpayers.
Their whole thing is to help people with disabilities go back to work.
They knew that I would be successful if I did not give up.
They have given me the power and confidence to face any challenge.
I'm just glad that, DRS was there. Empower yourself. Talk to DRS Vocational Rehabilitation
or Services for the Blind today.
OKDRS.gov. 800-487-4042.
Imagine one step, and suddenly a fall turns into a fracture. For many, osteoporosis is a hidden threat, weakening bones silently until it's too late. At the Ortho Central Bone Health Clinic, we believe in personalized care to keep bones strong and resilient. Led by advanced practitioner Amanda Boyd, our team specializes in detection and personalized treatment plans, from bone density testing to strengthening bones after a fracture. Take charge of your bone health today. Call Ortho Central's Bone Health Clinic and let's build better bones together.
Entrepreneurs in Moore, Norman, and South Oklahoma City have an experienced business partner in their neighborhood. Moore Norman Technology Center's workforce and economic development team understands the challenges entrepreneurs and small businesses face every day. From building an effective business model to hiring the right employees and managing cash flow, Moore Norman's business development experts can help you move forward confidently and thrive, knowing that you have a skilled partner at your side. Learn more about Moore Norman's Technology Center by calling 405-801-5000 or visit us online at mntc.edu.
Is your team coming to Norman or Noble for an event? Let Chick-fil-A 12th Avenue be your winning meal provider. From box meals and nugget trays to lemonade and tea, 12th Avenue Chick-fil-A can provide your team's pre- or post-game meal. Delivery, pickup, or dine in, 12th Avenue will have you covered. Call us at 405-310-3189 or use the CFA One app and let Chick-fil-A feed your team. Don't forget to ask about the Give Back program for a winning season. Call 405-310-3189 and remember to eat more chicken.
Hi Norman, it's DJ Newsom with Alliance Bank, your community-driven, friendly neighborhood bank. Whether you're a budding entrepreneur, lead a nonprofit organization, or just someone seeking a better banking experience, we've got you covered. From business to personal banking, we tailor our services to suit everyone's needs. We believe in making banking easy and enjoyable. Visit our Norman location or call us today at 405-286-5750. Alliance Bank, banking tailored to your needs. Member FDIC.
Are you, your family, or company looking for a locally owned and trusted management group? Carlsbad Management Group is an owner, developer, and manager of high-quality apartment communities in Oklahoma. They are a locally owned and operated management company for apartments and self-storage units. They are committed to providing exceptional apartment homes, customer service, and increasing the value of multi-family communities under our management. If you would like a free management quote today, call Carlsbad Management at 405-701-1411 and be part of the Carlsbad family.
Change is coming, Ref Army. From the voice of the Sooners on the rush every day for the triple option.
We've landed on the triple option, and I'm excited.
To the Plank Show, taking over your morning drive from 6 to 9.
Every single radio person, what they want to do is they want to do a morning show.
And the addition of Darinoka from 9 to noon.
While remembering that Oklahoma is top dog, I want to bring an SEC perspective.
Whether it's yesterday, today, or tomorrow, no one covers the Sooners like we do.
The Ref Sports Radio Network.
You know what I was just thinking about, Grayson?
What's that?
Something completely unrelated to OU football recruiting.
Probably.
I was thinking about the fact that before Spotify was a thing, we all paid 99 cents per song to buy music off iTunes. You remember those days?
I'm glad we don't have to go back to those days.
Are you?
Yeah. I like just paying for my Spotify Premium. $9 a month for my Spotify Premium. I'm good.
There's two sides to the coin here, though, right? Like, on the one hand, it's a lot more convenient to pay, what is it, $10 a month?
It's like
for
$9,
Spotify,
$10.
And have access to the entire catalog of music that exists today. But also, you don't own any of it. You purchase a song for 99 cents from iTunes. You own it forever. So it's this way with a lot of things these days. You don't own stuff anymore. You pay a subscription to own stuff. Stuff that historically you would have owned. I mean, subscriptions make sense.
I see where you're going with this.
Subscriptions make sense for certain things, right? Like, shoot, my full-time job is a subscription-based recruiting and insider coverage site. And that's the type of thing for which a subscription makes sense because, I mean, it is in many ways a more specialized, more narrowly focused form of the newspaper, which people have paid subscription fees for over the course of, decades, if not centuries, in America. Newspapers have been around a long, long time. You have to pay a subscription for a newspaper. There's really no other way to go about it. But there are some things that have become subscription-based. I'm just like, why would you pay a subscription fee? Why would you pay a monthly fee for this instead of just buying something outright? Reformed Homer says, I paid 25 cents a song on the jukebox at the pool hall in the 70s. 25 cents in the 70s? Dang, you must have been playing at some high-class pool halls.
Oh, God.
Holy smokes.
Brian from Maryland says, I wrecked the family PC, downloading music from LimeWire. I remember trying to download music from LimeWire, too. Yes, that was still around when I was a kid.
Mike S. says, you don't own anything in your iTunes. Either drop Apple and all your stuff goes with it. Yeah, but how do you drop Apple?
Yeah, what do you just not get an iPhone?
I guess there's probably, I don't know, but there's a way to, even if you're not accessing that music via iTunes, there's a way to transfer it from iTunes to your database of choice.
I don't know about that, actually.
Kyle in Broken Bow says, just buy the Essential Michael Bolton CD and you don't have to buy anything ever again. Weston Sooner simply says, Napster. Napster. I'm too young for Napster.
So am I.
I only know it from The Social Network, which is a really great movie, by the way. You ever seen The Social Network?
No.
Fantastic.
Another movie you've seen that's not Moneyball.
I know. How about that? I'm the one educating you on movies today. Who would have thought?
Kind of wild, I'm not going to lie.
It's Jesse Eisenberg, plays Mark Zuckerberg. Justin Timberlake plays Sean Parker. Brenda Song is in it. Who else? It's just a really good, Jesse Eisenberg is a really good leading.
You ready for this one from Chris from Knoxville?
Hit me.
Pirate Bay, LimeWire, FrostWire. We've all been down that rabbit hole. So, funny thing. My parents didn't let us have Netflix as a kid.
Okay.
So to watch shows that were trending with people my age, I had a spare phone that I had FrostWire on, and I would download the TV episodes onto that phone, and that's how I watched them. I watched so many shows never having to pay for a subscription just by downloading music and stuff like that from FrostWire.
He may be wanted for piracy in his home state of Texas, folks, but we'll hope there were no FBI agents listening to this segment. I don't think we're that important.
I don't think so.
405-651-3439 is the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line. Hey, so on the Jaden O'Neal front, a crystal ball prediction over on 24/7 Sports from a good buddy of mine, Zach Blostein, who does a tremendous job covering Florida State football recruiting. He is now of the opinion, officially, that Florida State is going to flip Jaden O'Neal from the University of Oklahoma. And again, this is not some Yahoo prediction. In fact, I was remarking on this in a conversation with a colleague from the industry just a couple days ago. Those guys at Knowles 24/7 run one of the best team sites on the entire internet. They are plugged in. They are excellent with their coverage. They're transparent, and they keep it real. Last 2 years, they've gotten to cover a 13-0 team and a 2-10 team, and they've done a fantastic job navigating both seasons. But I bring this up to say it now appears to be more of a prevailing sentiment, at least on that end, that the flip is going to take place. And what's interesting here, Grayson, is that, and sure, Bowe Bentley is competing at the Elite 11 now. He's not really betraying any sort of detail as to when he's going to make his final decision between LSU and Oklahoma. But at least in terms of what the experts are projecting to be the case, to be the outcome in each of these two recruitments, it now seems as though the Jaden O'Neal decision, if you will, may actually precede the Bowe Bentley decision. How interesting would that be?
I think it would validate everything I've been saying for the last couple of months or so, is that regardless of what happens with Bowe Bentley, Jaden O'Neal and Oklahoma have been in an irreconcilable place for a long time. Regardless of what happens with Bowe Bentley, I just don't think the two were ever going to be a marriage once Bowe Bentley got into the whole timeline of events. I'm not surprised by this. Now, I did think Florida State was kind of fading out of here, especially when Jaden took that Arizona visit, and it seemed like that Arizona visit went really well. I thought that might be a thing. Auburn kind of faded out kind of early, so kind of doing a little process of elimination there. But to me, this is the arrival of the inevitable when it comes to Jaden O'Neal. Once Bowe Bentley became the priority for Ben Arbuckle, it became very clear to me that whether Arbuckle landed Bentley or not, O'Neal was not going to be in the class.
I've long been operating under the assumption that we would learn what happens with O'Neal after Bentley decides. And to be clear, that may very well be the case. Now, I do not think, and I will stand by this, I thought this with Will Conroy, but I certainly think it all the more with Jaden O'Neal, given that he moved halfway across the country to Mustang, Oklahoma, in anticipation of enrolling at the University of Oklahoma. I do not think he's going to make any decision with finality about his future until he takes his scheduled Oklahoma official visit that is set for this weekend. And so he was just at Florida State. He was there, what would have been Sunday through Tuesday for his FSU OV. So he's just kind of getting back to town, getting back home to Mustang and settled after his OV to Florida State. And then he's going to turn around pretty quickly and do his OV with the Sooners. I would say that a week from now is probably about the earliest that we know what's going to happen with Jaden O'Neal. And at that point, you're counting on a pretty quick turnaround from the OU OV, which very well could happen, and there still may be a bit of a holding pattern that emerges after both visits are complete, kind of like we saw with Bowe Bentley. But there does appear to be that heightened sense of confidence from down in Tallahassee that Florida State's going to get this thing done and flip Oklahoma's longtime quarterback commit. We are a week shy of the 1-year anniversary of Jaden O'Neal's commitment to Oklahoma. This is a long-standing pledge. He was almost the OG in the 26 class for OU. The only guy that beat him to the punch was Ryder Mix, and he beat him by 9 days. So Jaden O'Neal has been a Sooner for a long, long, long time. Could the Seminoles now be the school that convinces him, I should say, to back off that pledge? It would be interesting. It would be hilarious. I've brought this reality up before. If Jaden O'Neal and Kevin Sperry wound up in the same quarterback room after all.
Somebody on the text line just did. Just beat you to that one.
What? Who said that? Who said that?
Chris from Knoxville.
Oh, yeah, Chris from Knoxville. Jaden O'Neal and Kevin Sperry end up as teammates after all.
Which would be nuts.
A 405 listener says, Jaden said Florida State's offer is over $2 million plus incentives if he sees the field early. Really? What? Who? I'm taking that with a grain of salt.
Denver from Indiana says, right on, Grayson. A sick part of me is wanting Bentley to sign with LSU. This has pissed me off from the get-go. I wonder if there's any other fans that share that sentiment. Because I don't blame you for having it.
I'm going to give you one name. One name that I have heard bounced around as somebody that could be on Oklahoma's radar if they go 0 for 2 with Bowe Bentley and Jaden O'Neal. Like, let's explore the doomsday scenario for just a second. When Ben Arbuckle needed a guy at the end of last cycle to help round out the quarterback room, his very first quarterback room at Oklahoma, where did he turn?
Oklahoma State and Jet New.
More specifically, the state of Utah. There's another Utahn in the 2026 class that has started to work his way onto P4 radars that I want to bring up because, again, his name has been tossed around to me as one guy that Oklahoma, if it came to it, may go and push for. Taden Ka'awa from Orem, Utah. 4-star quarterback, according to Rivals, number 26 nationally at the position. Now, to be clear, this only matters. That name only really matters if OU goes 0-2 with Jaden O'Neal and Bowe Bentley. And as we sit here today, I don't know whether they're going to go 0-2 or 1-2. They're certainly not going 2-2. We have known this from the jump. But as we wait on decisions from Bentley and O'Neal, kind of starting to come face to face with the reality that there is a world, and there has always been a world, but it's more conspicuous now. It feels closer now. That world where Oklahoma is still searching for a quarterback after O'Neal and Bentley make their respective decisions. By the way, the official Elite 11 Day 1 rankings came out earlier today. So the way they do it is the folks at the Elite 11 will rank all the quarterbacks after 1 day, they'll rank them all after 2 days, and then they will rank them all at the end of the event. So through 1 day of competition, and the first day is easily the most nondescript. So this is subject to a ton of change, for better or for worse. But through 1 day of competition at the Elite 11, Bowe Bentley ranks 6th out of the 20 quarterbacks at the event in the eyes of the Elite 11 staff. So I'll read you this list. I'll tell you who he's trailing. So Bowe Bentley at number 6 is behind Dia Bell at number 1, Texas commit.
And that's been consensus across a ton of sites, too.
Yeah, Dia's impressive.
He's really good.
Dia is really impressive. Keyshawn Henderson at number 2, longtime Houston commit. Number 3 on the list is Landon Duckworth, who is uncommitted but going to be deciding in the not-too-distant future between Auburn and South Carolina. Number 4 is Tennessee commit Faison Brandon, another very, very impressive signal caller. And then at number 5 is Washington commit Derek Zammit. So those are the 5 quarterbacks outpacing Bowe Bentley thus far at the Elite 11.
Let me ask you this, and I have no idea if you have insider knowledge on this, but I'm going to ask it anyway.
Okay.
Because Bowe Bentley is fighting between OU and LSU. LSU currently has the commitment of 5-star wide receiver Tristan Keys, who went on a visit to Tennessee. Does Tennessee have, speaking of Faison Brandon, does Tennessee have a real shot at flipping Tristan Keys?
I think Tristan Keys winds up at Miami right now.
So you don't think he winds up at LSU?
I don't. But to answer your question, I think everybody has a shot at flipping Tristan Keys right now. That recruitment is, or I should say that commitment is a very loose commitment. He is verbally committed to LSU. It doesn't feel too terribly solid as of right this second. So we'll see what the outcome is there. They're supposed to get him on campus this weekend for an OV. Maybe they can shake back and re-solidify his commitment, but I think that Tristan Keys recruitment is a long, long way from over. Zach from Guthrie asks, think we could flip the Houston commit? Absolutely not.
Didn't Florida State just try to flip Keyshawn Henderson?
Florida State tried, and many other schools have tried.
Didn't Alabama did too, right?
Keyshawn Henderson, believe this, Keyshawn Henderson is the best overall athlete in the entire 2026 cycle. Keyshawn Henderson, if he were not a 5-star quarterback, could just as easily be a 5-star wide receiver or a 5-star safety. That guy, in addition to being a tremendous quarterback, is an outstanding receiver, and he is an outstanding defensive back. One of those guys that is just special. You see a guy like Travis Hunter come up through the high school ranks, and I don't know if the term generational is fair to apply at that point in the process, but there's a reason why a label like that gets thrown around for a guy like Travis Hunter, because he's just doing things on the football field at multiple positions that you're not accustomed to watching dudes do. And Keyshawn Henderson very much fits that mold. He's a lifelong Houston fan. He's kind of got the key to the city down there. He's the linchpin in that class for the Cougars. And there's going to be a lot of money. A lot of money on the table for him when he shows up to the University of Houston. So, could Oklahoma flip the Houston commit? For my money, as close to a 0% chance as you can imagine. 405-651-3439 is the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line. With the Champ U barbecue upon us, there is much to discuss in the realm of OU recruiting, and we'll continue to hit the top storylines on the other side. Keep it right here on The Ref. The home of Sooner fans. We'll be back.
This is Sooner linebacker Kobe McKenzie, and you're listening to The Ref, home of the Sooner fans.
The Athletes Unlimited Softball League is coming to Norman June 20th through the 23rd at Love's Field. Watch these legendary AUSL pro softball players on the Volts and Talons compete, including Sis Bates, Montana Fouts, and Oklahoma's own Tiare Jennings and Sydney Romero. To learn more about the Bandits, Talons, Blaze, and Volts, go to theausl.com and get your tickets today. AUSL, this is legendary.
Hey, Mike Steely here for my good friends at Cavens Group. Spring temperatures are here and the threat of severe storms loom. Are you ready? Cavens can help you with water intrusion and inspections for mold. Also spring cleanup and yard cleanup with their 12-foot dumpsters. Don't wait for the water to expose your problems. Get ahead of it today with Cavens Group Spring Checkup. Call them today at 405-573-3048 or visit cavensgroup.com.
Visit Confidence Ford of Norman and receive employee pricing on our Ford lineup. But that's not all. We'll also give you a complimentary spray-in bed liner and window tint on all remaining new 2024 Super Duty trucks in stock, or save up to $10,000 on all remaining new 2024 Broncos. Drive the Ford you've always wanted from a team that puts you first. Visit us today, conveniently located at 825 North Interstate Drive. Confidence Ford of Norman, part of the Cavender Auto family, where confidence is Cavender.
Oklahoma-based Precision Fluid Power sells new and remanufactured hydraulic pumps, as well as repairs for virtually any hydraulic pump, motor, hydraulic servo valve, and cylinder. We serve all industries, large or small, regardless of what equipment you operate. Industrial, mobile, agricultural, construction. With over 150 years of expertise, the Precision Fluid Power team can provide solutions to handle all your hydraulic needs, local or out of state. Precision Fluid Power can help. PrecisionFluidPower.com.
Hey Sooner fans, it's almost football season, and there's no better time to gear up than right now at Balfour of Norman, your locally owned headquarters for all things Sooner. Whether you're searching for your new lucky game day polo, tee, or hat, we've got you covered from top brands like Nike, Jordan, and Tommy Bahama. Looking to take your tailgate or watch party up a notch? Check out our great selection of OU glassware, flags, and serving pieces. Come support local, stock up on Sooner style, and get ready to yell Boomer Sooner, only at Balfour of Norman, where Sooner spirit lives year-round.
The City of Norman encourages you to shop small this summer. What better place to eat, shop, and play local than historic Main Street in downtown Norman? With over 65 years of experience, Mr. Robert Fine Furniture and Design stands for quality. Family owned in the heart of Norman, their exquisite showroom is filled with unique items from around the globe. The historic Sooner Theater is a summer staple and a must-see downtown. See great local theater, concerts, or attend performing arts classes. Find upcoming events and tickets at SoonerTheater.org. Visit Oklahoma's premier art gallery specializing in Native American, Oklahoman, and Western art. Find original art, pottery, jewelry, made in Oklahoma products, and so much more at Tribes Gallery on Main Street in the heart of Norman. Join the City of Norman and keep it local this summer when you eat, shop, and play in downtown Norman.
On Friday, June 20th, Busch Stadium is turning up the volume. Following the Cardinals-Reds game, country hitmaker Cole Swindell will take the stage for a post-game concert presented by SIUE. Your game ticket is your concert ticket. Want the best view in the house? Upgrade with a VIP field access package. For tickets and details, visit cardinals.com/postgame.
Hey y'all, it's Cole Swindell, and I'll be performing the first ever post-game concert at Busch Stadium on Friday, June 20th. Hope to see y'all there. It's going to be a great time.
Final segment of Locked In here on a Wednesday. Parker Thune, Grayson, Singleton, hanging with y'all on the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line at 405-651-3439. A 405 listener says, JFA won the Elite 11. Hence the reason I don't really put too much stock in their quote-unquote rankings. Yes, Elite 11 results should be taken with a grain of salt because Jackson Arnold won the dang thing. I think Michael Hawkins finished like 17th out of 20 quarterbacks there. Spencer Rattler won it. I remember that.
He did.
Who are some other notable winners over the years and non-notable winners for that matter? Caleb Williams won it.
Okay, cool.
He won it out in Murfreesboro, Tennessee in 2020. I was there. Won it by a hair over Brock Vandegrift. Brock Vandegrift is enjoying the workforce these days. Caleb Williams is the franchise quarterback for the Chicago Bears. So, again, should all be taken with a grain of salt, but through one day of Elite 11 competition, Bowe Bentley is 6th out of 20 quarterbacks there. Spartan Sooner would like to know, is OU still strongly pursuing Braden Presley? Braden Presley is scheduled to OV with Oklahoma this weekend. They like Braden Presley a lot within the walls of the Switzer Center. The reason they like him so much is because they feel like he's a guy with a ton of versatility. Could play corner, could play safety. The question is, can you overcome Oklahoma State? Because family ties there, obviously. I think that battle comes down to OU and Oklahoma State. And I don't think Oklahoma State should be underestimated. If I felt that strongly that OU was the lead dog in Braden Presley's recruitment, I would have put in FutureCast by now. I haven't. Because I think that one's still unsettled. But Oklahoma would love to add Braden Presley to the class, and it's really, really interesting to consider this, Grayson. If Braden Presley does not wind up in the class, Oklahoma may only end up with one in-state prospect in their 26 signing class. That's operating under the assumption that Taj Overton picks Oklahoma, which I think OU's the heavy favorite there. An insurmountable favorite? No, but I think they're the heavy favorite. The only two other Oklahoma guys besides Jaden O'Neal, who, okay, is he an Oklahoma guy? Is he not? He lives in Oklahoma. He's not from here. But outside of Jaden O'Neal, who is the Sooners' lone in-state commit right now, the only other Okies that are on tap for officials this summer at all, not just this weekend, but this entire summer, are Taj Overton and Braden Presley. Kind of crazy that things have fallen in a certain way as to essentially make Oklahoma less of a factor in their own state in the 26 cycle than they have been in years. There's also a stark contrast when you look ahead to 2027. There are already 10 players from within state lines that have Oklahoma offers in the 27 class. So Oklahoma's made it an early priority. And if you're not familiar with all of these names, you should be. Let me run them down for you. Ben Kolar right up the road at Norman North.
Tight end.
Titus Hawk at Choctaw, another tight end.
Very good player.
Yeah.
6'7".
Super athletic. You have Cooper Hackett and Caden Penny, the two stud offensive linemen from out east. Hackett at Fort Gibson, Penny at Bixby. Case Alexander, love him down at Washington. I think he's going to be an excellent collegiate linebacker. Colton McComb.
Edmond Memorial.
Yeah, another linebacker that I think has a ton of potential. Gabriel Osborne just picked up an offer last week.
Mustang corner.
Yep, very talented kid. Raw, unpolished, but there's a lot of athleticism there.
And pretty good size, too.
He's a good basketball player, so multi-sport profile. You got Bryson Brown and Samaj Stanford out of Broken Arrow, the two defensive backs. And then Joseph Graves from Booker T, who just announced last week that he's going to be transferring to IMG Academy. So, 10 in-state offers in the 27 cycle. So, for those that wanted to assert that the new Jim Nagy philosophy of recruiting at Oklahoma was going to come at the expense of strong in-state recruiting efforts, it does not appear that that's the case. It just appears to be the case that Oklahoma, for whatever reason, doesn't like a lot of the in-state guys in the 26 class. They really like a lot of the in-state guys in the 27 class. And there's a lot to like in 27. We have long regarded that 27 class as one of the deeper that we've seen in recent memory at Oklahoma. And I'll say this 26 crop of in-staters has rounded into form nicely because it didn't look terribly impressive for the longest time. There have been a ton of late risers over the last few months that have popped onto the scene and earned G5 or even P4 looks. Gunny of Stutzman Army says, is super athletic the same as sneaky athletic? No. Super athletic and sneaky athletic, two entirely different labels. Gabriel Osborne is super athletic. Cooper Hooker. Cooper Hooker's sneaky athletic. But that could be another guy, right, in the 27 class that hasn't picked up an Oklahoma offer yet that very well could in the weeks or months ahead. So OU may not be done perusing the in-state ranks either.
Brian from Maryland says, is Ben Kolar Charlie's brother? Yes, he is.
Yes, he is.
Oklahoma did not offer Charlie, and they weren't going to let Ben go without a fight.
And you have to wonder how much that hurts them with Ben Kolar. Not only the fact that they didn't offer his brother, but also his two good buddies, Mason James, Daniel McMorris. Like, they backed off James. They never pulled the trigger on McMorris. So
choices have ripple effects.
They do. How much of a ripple effect is there going to be there?
And plus, Ben Kolar is a fast-rising name amongst tight ends. He just got a Michigan offer.
Yeah, he's picked up a ton of new P4 offers.
And I'll tell you what,
spring and summer.
Colton McComb's on not the same trajectory, but Colton McComb's got an offer from Oklahoma State, Tulane, and he just picked up one for Purdue.
Got Kansas like 15 minutes ago, too. So
wait, really?
Uh-huh.
Oh, didn't know that one.
Yeah, he's blowing up fast.
His brother is about to go play football at Kansas.
That is correct.
David, quarterback.
As a quarterback, yeah. And a good quarterback. They like him a lot up there.
District MVP this year for Memorial.
A 580 listener says, on the topic of centers, could Jacob Henry make the transition? The wrestling background would be a great asset, in my opinion. I get the excitement with Jacob Henry because he is Mark Henry's son. And so you're thinking, okay, he's got the WWE bloodline. He's going to be a stud. He has to be a stud, right? Jacob Henry played football in high school. It's not like he's new to the sport. He played football in high school, and he wasn't much of a prospect at that point. He came to Oklahoma on a wrestling scholarship because he was really good at wrestling. But even though he has joined the football team as a walk-on, and you're thinking, oh, yeah, that WWE bloodline is going to enable him to be a really, really strong player somewhere, I would caution against that. I think whatever you get from Jacob Henry in terms of on-field contribution, you should be pleased with, because the natural expectation for pretty much any walk-on at the University of Oklahoma is that they're going to hold a helmet on the sideline. If they do any better than that, huge win. And there are guys that do. Drake Stoops obviously comes to mind, but also dudes like Brian Mead. Who was the other cat at linebacker? Played a lot in 2022, I want to say. Jake McCoy. That's who it was. He got quite a bit of run for Oklahoma, and I think both 21 and 22 at linebacker. But there are guys that rise from the ranks of walk-ons, and they play, and some of them play well at Oklahoma. The vast majority of them, though, you never hear from again. A 4 or 5 listener says, hopefully Rutgers isn't looming.
Oh, no.
Spence in Tulsa says, Tebow was allergic to in-state recruits, yet Lincoln Riley did not make it a particular priority to recruit Oklahoma's own backyard. And that philosophy kind of carried over to USC, but he's evidently thought better of it.
Yeah, because that sort of way of doing things is hustling backwards.
Ryan in Jacksonville wants to know, if we go 0 for 2 with Bentley and O'Neal, is it too simplistic to declare gross negligence? If Oklahoma goes 0 for 2, make no mistake, Ben Arbuckle is going to take a lot of flack. Because Jaden O'Neal, if you don't screw with that situation, if you don't offer Bowe Bentley, Jaden O'Neal never has reason to look elsewhere. But that's what Ben Arbuckle decided to do. And he was content to live with the consequences. I don't know. That may be a rookie mistake on his part if Oklahoma goes 0 for 2 and there's a lesson that has to be learned the hard way. But what if he gets his guy? What if he gets Bowe Bentley? Then this is a whole lot of hand-wringing, much ado about nothing at that point. So, totally get why some people would sit there and rake Ben Arbuckle over the coals if he goes 0 for 2. And yes, that possibility is very much on the table. But let's wait to see how it plays out and give the new guy the benefit of the doubt in the meantime. Time will tell whether he earns it or not. 405-651-3439 is the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line, and it's where we have a lot of fun with all of you guys every single day here on this show. Thanks for all of your texts and interaction throughout today's program. For Grayson Singleton, I am Parker Thune. That is all for this installment of Locked In. I'm not going anywhere. I'll be right here alongside Teddy Lehman for another 3 hours of OU sports talk on the other side. The Rush is coming up here on the Ref, the home of Sooner fans. Folks, we'll see you tomorrow.